The episode begins with deep silence where Eşref is standing alone in the dark night, his eyes filled with anxiety, anger, and pain all at once, as if he has already sensed the truth but is not yet ready to accept it. He keeps looking over the city from the balcony, while only one question keeps echoing in his mind. Who is Nisan really? On the other side, Nisan sits alone in her room with tears in her eyes, but she is unable to cry properly because her pain has gone beyond words. Suddenly she receives a call from the police who put pressure on her to gather evidence against Eşref or everything will be over. Her breathing becomes heavy, and she simply says she is trying, but inside she is completely broken. Meanwhile, Eşref holds a meeting with his men where his tone is colder and more dangerous than before, and he orders them to investigate every detail of Nisan's life, including her past, her contacts, and every movement. From here, his suspicion slowly turns into certainty, and the story takes a dark turn. In the next scene, Nisan and Eşref meet face to face where there is an unusual silence between them. Eşref directly asks if she is hiding something from him, and Nisan denies it with a forced smile, but her lie is too weak for him to believe, and he immediately realizes the truth and tells her not to lie because he understands everything. Nisan's eyes fill with tears, but she still remains silent, and this silence says everything. Eşref walks away, but now his suspicion has turned even deeper. At night, Eşref receives a file containing an old report and clues that point directly to Nisan's true identity. And then comes the shocking moment when he discovers that Nisan is actually his childhood Rüya. This truth shakes him deeply. His hands tremble, and his breathing becomes uneven as past memories come alive in front of him. But the shock does not end there, because at the end of the file it is written that Nisan is a police informant. Seeing this, Eşref's face fills with both pain and, after standing frozen in that dark place where Nisan is tied and helpless, Eşref finally takes a slow step forward, but his mind is still locked between rage and emotions. He can clearly see her tears and the fear in her eyes, yet his heart is still fighting with the betrayal he just discovered. Suddenly, the enemies around the area reveal themselves completely, armed and confident, mocking Eşref and reminding him that this is no longer just a rescue, but a trap designed to break him emotionally and destroy his power. Eşref's men arrive shortly after, and a tense standoff begins in the shadows, where every second feels heavier than the last. Nisan struggles against the ropes, but she is too weak to escape while trying to call out Eşref's name again and again. Eşref raises his hand to signal his men to wait as he slowly walks forward alone, his eyes locked on Nisan, but his expression still unreadable. One of the main enemies steps forward and tells Eşref that this is his final weakness, and that Nisan's truth has already destroyed him from inside. But instead of reacting immediately, Eşref remains silent, which makes the situation even more intense. Then suddenly a gunshot echoes in the air, not aimed at anyone, but as a warning, and chaos begins as both sides prepare for conflict. In the middle of this chaos, Eşref finally reaches Nisan and stands right in front of her. For a few seconds, everything becomes silent again, as if the world has stopped. Nisan whispers his name with trembling voice, and Eşref looks at her with deep pain and confusion. He slowly unties her, but does not say a word. The moment she is free, she almost collapses into his arms, but he gently holds her without fully embracing her, showing that emotional distance still exists between them. Meanwhile, the enemies take advantage of this moment and attack, forcing Eşref and his men to fight back. A fierce gunfight breaks out in the darkness with explosions of light and sound breaking the silence of the night. Eşref P. After Eşref leaves Nisan standing in silence, the atmosphere becomes even heavier as she sits alone in that abandoned place, completely broken, trying to understand how everything changed so quickly. Meanwhile, Eşref walks through the dark streets with his mind full of chaos where memories of Rüya, Nisan's confession, and the betrayal all collide inside him, making it impossible for him to think clearly. On the other side, the enemies who survived the attack regroup in secrecy and vow revenge, planning a much more dangerous and organized strike against Eşref, this time targeting not just him, but everyone he cares about. As the night passes, both Eşref and Nisan remain awake in their own pain, unable to reach each other emotionally even though their hearts are still deeply connected. The next morning, Eşref returns to his headquarters where his men report that the situation is not fully under control and that more threats are coming from different directions. But Eşref's attention is not fully on business anymore, as his thoughts keep returning to Nisan. Later, he orders Nisan to be brought under strict protection, not because he trusts her fully, but because he cannot let anything happen to her. Nisan is taken to a safe house where she feels more like a prisoner than someone being protected, yet she accepts it silently because she understands Eşref's anger and confusion. In a parallel scene, we see flashbacks of their childhood connection as Rüya and Eşref's bond is slowly revealed again through fragmented memories, showing that their connection was never ordinary, but deeply rooted in fate. Meanwhile, Eşref meets with one of his most trusted men who warns him that keeping Nisan close could be dangerous, as enemies might use her again as a weakness. This puts Eşref in another emotional conflict where he cannot decide whether to trust his heart or his instincts. At the same time, Nisan tries to reach Eşref emotionally by writing a letter explaining everything she went through. As the tension slowly rises again after the quiet night, the episode continues with Eşref sitting alone in his office, staring at the old memory of Rüya, his face expressionless, but his eyes carrying a storm of emotions that he cannot control anymore. Meanwhile, Nisan is still in the safe house, but emotionally, she feels more trapped than protected, as every second of silence reminds her of Eşref's cold words and broken trust. Outside, the shadows of a new enemy plan are becoming clearer as a powerful underground group begins moving in silence to strike Eşref from multiple directions at once. This time, not only targeting his empire, but also his emotional weakness, which they already understand very well. Eşref receives intelligence reports that suggest a coordinated attack is only hours away, forcing him to prepare his men immediately. But even during all this chaos, his mind keeps drifting back to Nisan and the unfinished truth between them. In a sudden moment, he orders one of his trusted men to check on her condition secretly, showing that even though he is hurt, he still cares deeply. On the other side, Nisan notices unusual movement outside the safe house and starts feeling that something bigger is about to happen. She tries to contact Eşref, but her calls are ignored, increasing her emotional pain. Later, Eşref gathers his team and gives a strict order to protect key locations as he prepares for an all-out confrontation. His tone